Hello and welcome to Monday's Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, coming up on the programme tonight.
The volunteers taking presents to orphans in war-torn Ukraine. Tonight they tell us why and about the dangers they face.
They've served their time, but are some prisoners being set up to fail because of the day of the week that they're released? We've got a special report. He took on the finance industry to set up his own bank. We're on the red carpet in Burnley as Dave's stories turned into movie magic.
And in the weather, with scenes reminiscent of Christmas cards, we have warnings in force for the Isle of Man and the northwest of England. All the details coming up.
Well, we start tonight with an incredible story of selflessness, bravery and generosity. Just before Christmas, Stephen Holland, who's from Northwich, and two of his colleagues, Richie and Shahida, decided to drive to Ukraine voluntarily to hand out aid and presents to children in orphanages in the war-torn country.
Yeah, the trio had met the children whilst doing their day job. Stephen and Richie are high-risk security advisors escorting journalists in war zones. They'd been accompanying Shahida earlier in the year when she was making a film for ITV about the children of Ukraine. Well, in a minute, we'll hear from Stephen. He came into the studio a little earlier to tell us about that incredibly dangerous trip. But first, here's a little recap of their story from our correspondent, Mel Barham.
Oh, we've got some more girl stuff here, which is good.
This was a mission to spread not only a bit of Christmas cheer, but also deliver much needed aid. As a high-risk security advisor, Stephen is no stranger to hostile environments. And after working with the documentary team earlier this year on a film about the children of Ukraine, he couldn't get the kids he'd met out of his head. And so, just before Christmas, he and his colleague Richie, as well as the film's producer Shahida, decided to drive back to Ukraine voluntarily.
Hello guys, quick update. Problems that we've got, the roads are horrific. You throw weather conditions in with that and the whole place has just come to a standstill.
The route was treacherous. Through minefields and smashed up Russian tanks, they drove all across the country, delivering presents to orphanages and refugees, as well as handing out generators and essential aid. But their main reason for going was to catch up with some of the children they'd met before. One of them was Kira. And they found her alive and well. They were also reunited with Andre.
When the war started, his mum and dad went off to fight and he wanted to build a checkpoint. Hello, mate. Seeing him last night was an overwhelming amount of emotions because I've genuinely sort of missed him, I've been concerned about him. How are you, mate? Is it good up? Good to see you, mate. If you could see the smile on those children's faces, there is nothing on this planet that will ever give you the satisfaction what we have seen and what we have gained from this trip.
Yeah, that surely was an incredible journey, and I don't think you could fail to be moved, could you, by the pictures of the children over there in Ukraine. Well, Steve came into the studio a little while ago and he told us more about that trip and why he wants to go back to Ukraine.
I think it was just passion, you know, once being on the Children of Ukraine documentary and seeing it from a child's perspective, you know, it was very upsetting. And I think a Western influence in the country and people like myself going in and helping, you know, that's what I wanted to do. And initially myself and Richard and Shahida, you know, we just wanted to take some Christmas presents and it just grew from there. But yeah, it was just being passionate about the cause and seeing it firsthand of the situation that they found themselves in.
You developed a particular closeness with a couple of kids, one of them being Andre, that young lad in Mel's reports. You had no idea whether he was alive or not. No. Tell us about the moment when you saw him that time.
It was great. It was emotional, very moving. Andre is my favourite. And I probably shouldn't say that because I love every single one of the children. But Andre, I've just had this connection with him, you know, and he's a real good kid. I was really concerned about him, you know, when we left him. I'd not seen him for a number of months. And I was concerned, you know, we'd not spoken to him or we didn't know if he was safe. And then when we actually got there and we seen him, it was brilliant. There's no better feeling in the world than seeing somebody who's safe and well.
I mean, you went over there voluntarily after being out there for work. We've had, you know, this story very recently about the 2 British guys who went missing, one of whom very sadly has now been found and who didn't survive. Does that make you more worried about going on these trips? Because I know you're going back, aren't you, in a couple of weeks?
It does, yeah. And you know, let's be straight. You know, the Ukraine is a very, very dangerous place to be. The most volatile place that I've ever been. And I've been in Iraq, Afghanistan, been all over the world in a military capacity. I am concerned. I do have a little boy at home. And of course I'm concerned for my safety, but unfortunately, you know, my moral compass will always put me into that country. And my little boy will understand that one day, hopefully.
On your family, Steve, you do such good work out there, but they must be so concerned, so worried about you. So what do they say to you?
They don't want me to go. No, OK, I'll correct that. They do want me to go, but there's a line. And I cross that line every time because I have to go into these areas where it's really unsafe. Let's talk about Kherson. You know, I am planning to go into Kherson when I return back to the country. That is a very hostile and dangerous place. There's children there that need to be evacuated. I brought this up with my family and, you know, from their perspective, you know, it's a step too far. So we need to have this discussion again. But unfortunately, yeah, you know, we go into these areas where it's relatively dangerous, it's hostile. You know, we are not the Russians' primary target, but we are a secondary and we are a target.
So will you continue to go back for as long as the war goes on?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us today. When you do go back, please stay safe.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
I will. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Steve, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he certainly is a remarkable man.
He certainly is. Incredibly brave indeed. Well, next tonight, when people leave prison after serving their time, it's supposed to be a chance for a fresh start. But one former inmate from Lancashire has warned that many are being set up to fail, left vulnerable to criminal gangs and set on a path to reoffending.
Yes, a third of all prison releases happen on a Friday, which means people have just a few hours to access vital help with housing, benefits, addiction support and healthcare before services shut down for the weekend.
Yeah, now the MP for Bower-in-Furness is trying to change the law to end Friday releases for vulnerable inmates. Our political correspondent Lisa McNally has the story.
Drugs led Dave in and out of prison from the age of just 16. Caught in a cycle of addiction and reoffending, leaving jail was never a fresh start for a frightened young man. It was a fresh hell.
I was in my head thinking, what am I going to do with myself? I had thoughts that were like, you're not good enough, you're not capable enough. And in the end, I'm going back to what I know. And I got up off that couch, walked out the door and walked straight back into taking heroin and crack cocaine, alcohol and committing crime because I know how to do that and I knew how to do that. I've been doing that 24/7 for over 25 years. That was my go-to. When we look at people and go, why would you choose that life? I don't know how to live your life. I don't know how to be a citizen.
But Dave has turned his life around.
So it's about how you can hold your own.
Drug-free for more than a decade, he now runs the Well Communities, where he and his team provide addiction recovery services across the Northwest. They try to help former inmates make a new life, but one simple factor can make success or failure more likely: which day of the week they're released from prison.
If you let out on a Friday, there's so many things you have to consider. You've got to sort your housing out, your medication out, your probation, and the clock's ticking because you've got till 5 o'clock. Once that's 5 o'clock, that's it, you're done. You've got nothing from the Friday till Monday morning, 9 o'clock. That's not looking at the well-being for that individual and making sure that that individual has got the best start in life.
Locking prison leavers in this race against time can mean many end up with no money, no medication, no place to stay. And it's the experience that ex-offenders are most likely to face. because the law currently states that anyone due to leave custody on a Saturday, Sunday or Bank Holiday Monday are moved to the preceding Friday. It means a third of all prison releases are crammed into just a few hours. And research suggests it has a knock-on effect on reoffending rates, which are an estimated 5% higher in those let out on a Friday than a Monday. Support workers say it's the desperation of that weekend wait that drives many back to crime.
Your coping strategies are drugs. You find yourself nowhere to live, no money, no food. It's kind of a given, isn't it, that that's the pathway that they're going to follow over the weekend. And our experience, once people become very, very quickly entrenched in the same behavioural patterns that they were exhibiting before they went into prison, then, they're up and running again, aren't they? What these individuals need, they need a real joined-up approach from a lot of different statutory and third sector organisations to give them the best opportunity to stop them, what in effect is that revolving door of reoffending.
Mr. Simon Fell.
The MP for Barrow and Furness is now trying to change the law, giving prison governors the option to release people up to 48 hours early to make sure they can access key services before the weekend shutdown.
There's no such thing as a win-win in politics, but this is about as close to it as you can possibly get. So the prison should see some relief in terms of not getting that reoffending cycle happening. The people leaving prison should see some benefit in that they are going to find it easier to access statutory services, meet their probation worker, not just go straight back on recall and into prison, and society as a whole. So we're going to see less reoffending as a result of this because people are more able to get back into stable lives and get back into society.
Simon Fell is bringing a private member's bill through Parliament, which has won government support. So he hopes the law could be changed in a matter of months, which can't come soon enough for people like Dave, who want to make sure that those leaving prison have the tools to leave it for good. Leisha McNally, ITV News.
OK, more of the day's news now. And the man accused of the murder of Ellie Edwards in Wirral on Christmas Eve is due to stand trial in the summer.
Connor Chapman made his first Crown Court appearance by video link today. Anna Yosef has our report tonight.
Connor Chapman, who's 22, appeared at Liverpool Crown Court via video link from Manchester Prison. Mr Chapman, who was wearing a black padded jacket, spoke to confirm his name and date of birth at the hearing, which lasted about 10 minutes. He's accused of the murder of Ellie Edwards, who was shot dead at the Lighthouse pub in Wallasey on Christmas Eve. The 26-year-old beautician is not believed to have been the intended target of the attack, which left 4 men injured. As well as murder, he's accused of the attempted murder of 2 men and faces 3 counts of wounding with intent to do grievous bodily harm. He's also charged with possessing a firearm and ammunition to endanger life and of handling stolen goods in the form of a Mercedes A-Class car. He was remanded in custody and his next hearing will be in April. A trial date has been fixed for June the 7th and the case is expected to last between 3 to 4 weeks.
Thousands of teachers in the North West are to strike for 4 days in February and March. Their union says it's part of a campaign for a fully funded above-inflation pay rise. Ahead of the ballot result, Downing Street's urged teachers not to strike and inflict what they've called substantial damage on children's education.
An inquest heard that a student from Nantwich who died after a series of remote consultations from his GP surgery should have been given an urgent face-to-face appointment. David Nash was studying in Leeds when he was wrongly diagnosed as having a flu-like virus. The 26-year-old was taken to hospital and died 2 days later after his condition suddenly deteriorated. It was later found that he had developed mastoiditis in his ear that caused an abscess in his brain.
5 different types of shark have been caught in the River Mersey just a few decades after the river had been declared biologically dead. 37 different species of fish were caught by anglers last year. That's more than double the number recorded 20 years ago. The increase is thought to be due to improved wastewater treatment, which has helped reduce pollution.
14 precious chandeliers in Blackpool's world-famous Tower Ballroom have been lowered for their annual spring clean. All of the chandeliers date back to the Edwardian period. They were carefully lowered from the ceiling, one at a time, for an intricate dust and polish to keep them sparkling.
The crystal on the chandeliers is hand-cut from Italy, so there's a huge amount of pressure on the people in there. There's 4 of them in the roof actually hand-winching these down. We have people on the floor watching the floor as it's happening, so it's very nerve-wracking, but thankfully some of the people up there have been here for 20+ years and they've done it many, many times.
Yeah, he does like a good dust and polish from that time to time.
Always nice to have a little tickle with a feather duster. Still to come on Granada Reports.
After a wet, mild start to January, the weather is doing a total U-turn. Warnings for wintry showers and ice in force for the Isle of Man and the northwest of England. All the details coming up.
And the bloke who brought
Bond to Burnley.
The real-life story of the Bank of Day.
Coming up.
Here's Charlene with the details of the ITV News in about 15 minutes' time.
Coming up, revealed as a serial rapist, the elite police officer who terrorised women. PC David Carrick today admitted dozens of charges over 18 years. Tonight, serious questions are now facing Britain's biggest police force. Also tonight, teachers vote to strike. We'll have the latest on what their pay dispute means for schools across the country. And how many people does it take to polish a light bulb? The chandelier is getting a spot of TLC at Blackpool's famous ballroom. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Burnley, who march on in the Championship, their 1-0 win at home to Coventry maintains their 5-point lead at the top. Wigan Athletic remain bottom, but collected a point from a 1-1 draw at Cardiff, Will Keane scoring deep into stoppage time. Bolton extended their unbeaten run to 8 games in all competitions as they beat Portsmouth 3-0 in League One, while Accrington's Stanley climbed out of the relegation zone thanks to their 2-0 win against Bristol Rovers. In League Two, Salford City remain in the playoff places. They're 5th after beating Sutton United 2-0. Stockport County are just 3 points adrift of those playoff spots, also winning 2-0 at home to Northampton. Kelvin Mellor scored a second-half equaliser to earn Crewe Alexandra a 1-1 draw with Mansfield, and Tranmere Rovers also fought back for a 1-1 draw at home to Walsall. They're now 5 points adrift of the playoff places there. And finally to basketball, and a big result for the Cheshire Phoenix. They're through to the quarter-finals of the BBL Trophy thanks to an impressive 129 points to 80 victory over Nottingham Hoods. It was Phoenix's highest score in the British Basketball League competition since September 2008. Sadly, though, Manchester Giants were eliminated. And that is all your sport for tonight.
Cheers. The Manchester Derby, I mean, you don't get much more controversial than that, do you?
I mean, we were talking about people being purple on Friday's programme, neither red nor blue. I'm a purple. I don't support either team, but that goal is offside. I don't matter what it's probably going to annoy a lot of United fans.
I've seen it a few times, and yeah, it is.
How is he not interfering?
Goodness me. David, thank you.
Controversial.
It was offside.
I'm not getting involved. And finally tonight, moving swiftly on, Hollywood came to Burnley as they rolled out the red carpet to one of their own yesterday.
The town welcomed a host of famous faces for the Lancashire premiere of new Netflix film Bank of Day.
Yeah, it's a story of self-made millionaire Dave Fishwick. He took on the financial giants by opening his own community bank.
And who better to play the main character than a Bond movie veteran? Our entertainment correspondent, Caroline Whitmore, was there.
The bloke who brought
Bond to Burnley.
The real-life story of the Bank of Day.
Bank that serves the whole community.
You was a banker? Well, I'd put my money in Banker, Dave.
Did you?
Yeah. Special screening of your film here in Burnley.
I got the phone call a couple of years ago. Piers Ashworth, who wrote the initial Mission Impossible film for Tom Cruise. He rang me, he said, Dave? I said, yeah. He said, it's Piers from Hollywood. I said, now then. He said, I want to make a movie about your life. I said, well, you better get yourself to Burnley then. Centre of the universe.
Look, Rory Kinnear.
Yeah.
In this film, there he is.
From Bond?
From Bond.
Hard to get, extremely expensive.
To Burnley. He looks more like me than me. When I walked in, wife was stood next to him. I said, no, I'm over here.
We're building a new sports centre.
Man, that is absolutely fantastic news, eh?
Couldn't have done it without you, though, mate.
Rory, welcome to Burnley.
Thank you very much. Nice to be back. Watched the documentary, read his book, and then knowing what a great story it was and what potential there was, I decided to come up and meet him, and we had a cup of tea around his table. I mean, he's a difficult person to say no to.
Did you want to meet him to get to know his characteristics?
You can tell that there's a slight level of fear and anxiety on their part, but you have to be nice about them. I hope that the story does justice to Dave, and you can hear his dulcet tones swooping over me now.
Dave asked us to create a pie for his special event. We created a Benny and hot pot pie. We wanted a meat and potato with a twist, so we've got stinking caps on, and here we are.
I was the third customer in the Bank of Dave to put money in, just to get a reasonable rate of interest, and they lent money to us. They got paid every penny back, of course, and we're still thankfully in business today.
This bank thing.
Well, last time I checked, you saw minibuses. You were playing real Dave's wife, Nicola.
She's incredibly glamorous and wonderful. She's very humble. I was blown away by his kindness, really, and the fact that he'd seen all this going on in his local community. He'd done good himself and he wanted to put it back. Behind every great man there's an even better woman, so that is how the saying goes, Jo. I lived in Burnley for a while, and it is a great place, and the spirit was like, there's people coming up to us when we were filming. We used Dave's own house. It was lovely to be at home, I'm from Oldham, and sort of, it's kind of come full circle, and he's inspired a movement. I have no idea what he's doing, but it's great.
You turn up on your Bank of Dave boss, but you do still seem very down to earth. Would you agree?
Well, my wife, who's here today, when I come home from these sorts of events, and I've been down London and I've met lots of people, she'll say, never mind all that nonsense. Do you want corned beef hash or cottage pie for your tea? And you're grounded immediately.
And which one do you go for?
Cottage pie.
All the time.
Living life on the edge. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on the cottage pie, Dave.
Absolutely.
We love Dave.
Do you reckon he would have liked Daniel Craig to have played him then? No.
I don't know. I mean, he seemed happy enough, didn't he?
He certainly did. Wonderful stuff.
Here's Emma with the weather.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, and I hope you've had a good day. Now then, as we head into the new week, it looks like being a lot colder than it's been so far this January. And there are so many beautiful pictures flooding in. Thank you for those contributions, many looking like the scenes from Christmas cards. But also we have this sparkling wintry sunshine, and that is going to impact the weather warnings. We have a couple of those in force as well, so let me explain what I mean. Now, the first one encompasses the Isle of Man, issued by Ronaldsway Met Office for ice and wintry showers, and runs until midnight on Wednesday. There could actually be several centimetres of snow falling here, but it's going to be very gradual, and then by day the sun is going to melt it, so we're expecting icy stretches, not too much in the way of accumulations of snow. And this shaded area on the mainland, we've got this flow through the Irish Sea, so mainly targeting the Liverpool Bay area here. There could be maybe a couple of centimetres of snow at lower levels, maybe 5 to 10 centimetres of snow at higher levels, and this warning is in force until noon tomorrow. So taking a closer look, lots of areas of low pressure dancing around the British Isles there, as you can see. Generally it's going to be dry, but a few wintry showers at each coast, and also we're expecting possibly some milder weather at weekend, but that's a long way off at the moment. So you can see what I mean by this flow, this northwesterly flow through the Irish Sea of those showers. Tonight elsewhere it's going to be bitterly cold, colder than last night, and dry with a widespread frost and icy stretches where you've had those showers. Sun's up tomorrow at 19 minutes past 8, and we're expecting the showers to continue. It's a bit of a rinse and repeat of today, staying bitterly cold with icy stretches as well. Those showers are going to become more widespread and more banded as we go into the latter part of the day. That's it. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks, Emma. We're back after news at 10. You can keep up to date on the website till then.
For now, we shall see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Good night.